with the flames to guide us across time, we took a land shrouded in darkness and used our own blood and tears to forge it into a home. Now our journey continues, and a new chapter awaits. As the current Pyro Archon, allow me, Mawika, to light your way forward.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what. This is peakness. So, besides me getting Mawika twice, which is glorious as heck, now I just need Seat Lolly, honestly. But when it comes down to it, though, let's talk about the whole Archon quest, shall we? Now, obviously, there is a lot to talk about, and I'm not gonna remember everything, but I will talk about enough of it as much as possible. But when it comes down to it though, first off, Happy New Year to all you people, and honestly, hopefully let's make this year a good one. Not even a good one. Let's actually make this a year where we complete our goals, set ourselves up for the highest extent of our challenges, and at the end of the day, reach those high-end challenges and finish it off finally. Right? That's essentially the plan, right? We're hitting it for 10K for this year, and not just, 10K itself, but obviously hit for harder than that. Go higher than that, and that's just how it is. So hopefully you join me for the whole year, and we can just try to continue to see what happens. But aside all that, the Archon quest, not gonna lie, second favorite quest in the entirety of the game. My first favorite quest is obviously Fontaine. I don't think anything is gonna top Fontaine, if I'm gonna be personally honest with you, at least in terms of what we have right now. But at the very same time, this was a good quest too. And I know a lot of people have also felt iffy about Natlan as a whole. I felt the same way too. But honestly, I would say because of the captain and what we've seen at the end of the story definitely changed my perspective of, you know what, this was a damn good quest though, right? So obviously if you haven't beat the whole Archon quest, definitely go do it, or at least go watch it, or however you go about it, because we will be going into all kinds of spoilers, because I am not really trying to hold back on anything, and I'll try to go as far as what I remember in terms of the quest, and we'll kind of talk about everything overall. So first off, I'm not going to necessarily get everything in order, at least of what has happened, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So, obviously, some of the main points is that we got to see Renova's whole ass eye, which is probably the biggest thing for me. Then at the same time, we got to see the whole captain's deal with him challenging the rule of death, essentially, and what that plan was. Essentially trying to go ahead and be like, you know what? Here's the deal, Renova, you bitch. What I'm gonna do is essentially give my life and merge that shit with the Lord of the Night. So if you want to stop being a hoe-ass person to the Conrians for 5 seconds, revoke your rules, or I just make a paradox out of your bitch ass. And so essentially, I'm thinking, oh shit, she's actually gonna have to do that. But she said, nah, take my power and do what you're gonna do. Even though there's gonna be consequences, I'm not changing shit. Which is crazy to me. I was not expecting that of all the damn things, right? That's like the main thing that I was kind of like, what is gonna happen with that, right? And because of that, obviously, the captain did what he did, essentially releasing all the damn souls that he locked up in himself for 500 years, because Conrad just had the technology to make a modified heart to bring souls in, to hold them there, even though this shit cost this man immense pain for 500 years. And somehow when it comes down to it, yeah, he kind of got his way. For the first time, he finally gets the chance to actually rest and, die. Because the whole curse of immortality type of thing. And that's just essentially how it is, And at the end of the day, I can't help but to feel happy for him in some shape or form. And I know there's a lot of people that definitely wants to pull for the captain and, want him playable. And I absolutely get that. But at the very same time, with how they told why this happened and how they went about it, I'm okay with him not being playable. At least for me. Personally, and honestly, I was never really that high on the captain. I liked him, right? He was a cool character. but I was never really ultra high on the captain when it comes down to it. That being said, though, if we are going to look at one Harbinger I am excited for, that's easily Columbina, because, like, she has been the creepiest and weirdest one of all of them, and with how creepy Renova's whole ass appearance is, and she's above an angel and is like a shade of the heavenly principles and things of sort like that, and Columbina has that relation to angels and things like that in certain types of symbolism. I am mad curious to see what type of energy she's gonna bring to the table. Who knows? Maybe that little, horror analog film they made for Hoyoverse, maybe that might actually hold some truth to it. Especially with this creepy ass eye that Renova had. Like, this shit was just out of a damn horror movie when it come down to it. It was freaky as all hell. I ain't gonna necessarily lie. But when it come down to it, I like seeing this. Because it's like, oh, so Genshin is not afraid to pull some shit like this. They're not afraid to kind of, show some really crazy, not graphic, but creepy ass imagery, right? It kind of reminds you of like those biblically accurate angels, essentially, that people like to make up when it comes down to it, of what they could look like. And yeah, this is par for the course of that, for sure. No doubt we'll see Renova in the future when it comes down to things, and no doubt this is not the end of the Lord of the Night. Most likely we'll see them at some point in time, because obviously, as Capitano he did create a damn paradox. Technically his body is still alive, he's just not, the soul ain't there, right? And technically that's what the whole Lord of the Night, to get the Lord of the Night eternal life when it comes down to it. So yeah, there's some nonsense to be had there. There's some definite nonsense to be had there. But besides all of that craziness, we also got to, fight the whole ass of this itself. Within that land goes Soythoth, which sounds like soy sauce, so that's just kind of how it is on that. But that was cool. That was a nice ass segment. Honestly, there was a lot of shit I missed in that fight when you kind of did it the first time ago. It kind of just shows you that, yeah, you should definitely also complete a lot of the quest lines that is important when it comes to Natlan and stuff. Because I was watching, like, Jonathan, kind of complete his playthrough of the Archon quest this morning. And essentially, when it comes down to it, you had a whole scene with, like, Bona and Ochkan from Ochka Natlan, and if you did that whole world quest, and they get to come through, they have voices and whatever, and that junk was mad peak. I got happy for some reason, I don't know why, but I got mad happy when I saw the characters. I was just like, oh hell yeah, let's go. It was some peak timing. Also, there's one thing I need to mention as well, and that's Capitano's subordinate Goonthread, right? Now, I don't know if I'm completely accurate with this, but don't Conarians not have elemental powers and shit? Yet they kind of use elemental powers, or they use something close to it in their own way. Because if you remember, or if you could just go up to his throne and see, Capitano, he don't necessarily just have, cryo. He got something mixed within that. And it's like, what the hell is that? What exactly are we... What is it containing? And all that type of stuff. So it could be cryo, but it's mixed with something else that's a bit weird. But regardless, I do like Goonthread though. I ain't gonna necessarily lie. He was actually, again, the type of person that's not necessarily the nicest person on the planet. He gotta do what he gotta do to protect his captain. My captain, oh captain. But that's just kind of how it was though, And he was loyal to the man. He was definitely like, you know what? Even though we basically strangers at this point, I still respect my captain though. And it was just also nice just to see the dead people to kind of come through and be like, hold on, we'll guide you to where you need to go to save, all of Natlan. Just follow this path here. Use some dead Saurians to go ahead and follow the path of what you need to do. It's brilliant, honestly. And that's just kind of how it was, right? And also, just fighting, obviously, Soythoth and, the mimic of the whole ass Dragon Sovereign as well. That shit was kind of crazy too, And what really threw me off hard was definitely the amount of names and voices that was coming out of the damn dragon. Because I didn't know what the hell I was listening to, right? I didn't know. But apparently the voices and names that was coming out of it was the previous Pyro Archons that came before. Like, we didn't meet them, obviously, but they came before and they was getting pissed off. So I guess they got corrupted by the Abyss in some shape and form. Like their memories maybe have, or something of the sort like that. Maybe that's the reason why things were the way they were, and why they said the things that they said. right? Or maybe I'm misinterpreting that. I don't necessarily know. We'll have to kind of just wait and see until people kind of play the quest and kind of explain this shit, because a lot of shit definitely went over my head in some regards, but I understood some of it though, right? And then at the very same time, I was thinking we was going to use the damn, Oda Resurrection on ourselves, but apparently that didn't happen. We kind of just rocked with it. Hell, the way we got the pyro ability for the Traveler was kind of unique and different too, because I was thinking, oh, well, I assume we just need the Gnosis for like a second, and then, use it like that, or Mabuika would just give us the damn power. But I want to say the Lord of the Night gave us that power. I'm not necessarily I'm not too good on voices, but it's like, it sounded like her. So that's kind of how we got it. And that's kind of different and weird, right? Considering that every other way has been natural and normal so far. This was a weird one, but it kind of makes sense, I guess, too, because maybe it had something to do with the ley lines and the Night Kingdom, or something else of that sort. I don't necessarily know, but that was still definitely something that was like a moment for me. But the overall fight with Gasoithov definitely was like a really good peak thing as well, and especially the ending of it too, because it was just like, you know what, we came from the whole ass Night Kingdom, we basically saved the whole country yet again, and it was nice to see that hug from Paimon to the Traveler. That was a nice ass scene. But also what I liked as well at the end of all it was really the fact that the Traveler for once got to get his props, or his or her props essentially, when it comes down to it, because it's just like, yeah, we basically helped save the damn nation, right? Yeah, you have the Pyro Archon there too, but we basically saved the hell out of this nation, and this is the many times we have done this, and it's the first time we actually get praise and some actual clout for that shit, right? Had signing autographs and whatever, taking photo ops, hell, even a whole ass dancing minigame, and Lamine looked cute as hell while she did that shit. And that was just some prime time heat though, right? That was prime time good quality content, right? But when it comes down to it, it was just nice to see that, hey, the Traveler done a lot of shit to this point. It would be nice if he got some type of like glory to his name or something of the sort, right? And that just kind of is what it is. But at the very same time, this made me think of a curious type of thing, especially with when you start to talk to Mabuika about the many different topics that we can bring up. Essentially, when it comes down to the ancient name, anybody can kind of take, the Traveler's ancient name, as long as they, proven by the wilds to be that type of person. And at the very same time, it's like, so it makes me wonder, when Genshin is over, like the main part of Tibet is done, I wonder, does this mean that the main Traveler will, be gone, or basically die off at some point, and someone will take its ancient name and maybe that's the main character? Which would be kind of wild, and honestly I don't want that to happen, because I don't want to see Lamine die, but that's just kind of how it is in my mind of what I think could potentially happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did. And also, I think we need to give a special shout out to Mabuika as well, because she literally is like the one Archon I don't think we had any major issues out of in terms of their character, right? Like, don't get me wrong, we probably didn't necessarily vibe with the plan that she was initially having, but that's because we didn't have all the information that we needed and understood why she's going for the 500-year plan and all that type of stuff. But once you have that, it's kind of like, damn, she kind of validated a lot of the way she feels and the plan. Much less, even when she was going to sacrifice herself at the end, it made sense as to why she would do such a thing, because, yeah, to her, that would be pretty much worth it. Even though at the same time, it still is like, you built this future, you succeeded with the plan, and yet you can't enjoy it. It's always about duty and shit. That's kind of whack, not gonna lie. But there's a few other major things I want to really cover, which is essentially the whole ass fake sky thing, much less the Gnosis as well. But first, the Gnosis. Obviously, because Capitano is dead and, kind of gone right now, we don't necessarily have anybody taking the Gnosis for once. And this was something I wanted for the longest time. I was like, it would be nice if the Gnosis went into the Traveler's hands, or we got to keep the Gnosis, which we know the Gnosis is like, something very messed up and devastating, and, even Skirk kind of told us to get rid of it at some point in time. But still, I was always like, bro, it would be nice if we got to hold on to the Gnosis for like 5 freaking seconds, and that would be nice to see. But at the very same time, we never got that chance. And now that we have that chance, it feels nice for the Fatui to not get one. Granted, this is the final one, and you know they're gonna get it at some point in time, so that's just ultimately going to happen. That being said, what Mabuika said was pretty damn interesting. Basically, the captain resigned his position of being a part of the Fatui. It was granted by the Sarita, but obviously the Sarita's not going to necessarily just let that happen completely without, you know, getting her hands on them damn Gnosis. And when it comes down to it, potentially there could be a, you know, replacement Harbinger to come through and take the damn Gnosis. So now the question is, who the hell is that going to come down to and be? And, you know, how is that really going to work out, you know? And that's the whole other thing, because Mabuika is definitely not going to give it up that easily. So it could be, I don't know, a Fatui invasion. It could be a Schnellstein invasion of some kind. But, you know, it could be that. But at the same time, it'll be kind of like a moral conflict with the captain's forces that was left there, maybe. And maybe they won't necessarily like that and vibe with that. So there could be that result. You know, there's definitely different ways of how this can play out. It could be Columbina finally coming through, and, you know, people theorize that Columbina and the captain could come through at the same time. So she could pop in and just take it, which will be a nice little hype thing to see what Columbina's all about, because she is the third strongest, if I remember correctly. So that would be nice. And she's, again, having symbolism with angel stuff. So of all the people, she would probably be the most interesting one, which I hope, I promise, if Hoyo don't make her playable, that's a character I'll be actually pissed for. But the last real thing that Mabuika also brought up was, again, the information about the fake sky and what kind of happened. Essentially, once the fake sky appeared, apparently Fatui Harbingers, well, at least one Fatui Harbinger popped through and decided to be like, let's investigate a little bit, which was obviously the Dr. Dottore. And when it comes down to it, he's already on some BS. He has a stronghold in Nakrai, which is a place that the devs already have teased already, which tells us we're going there before we go to 6.0, right? So somewhere within this 5.0 patch, something's going to happen where we're going to have to go there first, and then we'll see what the heck is up, right? So that's interesting. And she also brought up that there is like a new type of power that also predates all the elements, and then there's also at the same time some like plan or project that's in place, which could be Project Stuja, if you remember that from Arlecchino. So there's a lot of stuff that's in plan, right? There's a lot of stuff in place, and now it's kind of like, oh, it makes sense why in the future characters that we've seen, why Skirk, if that is Skirk, may pop up soon, because we're getting close to it, right? And there's been plenty of storyline plot points that need to kind of be covered as well. So we'll see how that pretty much goes, you know? Plus, I feel like what we're going to do is get like a break patch, obviously, after this one, and now probably handle all of the, you know, Collective of Plenty and Ian San and stuff like that. We'll have like a little break patch. Then after that will probably be like a whole, you know, Dane patch, or, you know, something major will happen. And then maybe after that will be another major thing that will probably happen. And then maybe another break patch after that. And then essentially we get close to, you know, Smash 9. They kind of go about it from there and stuff like that. I do feel like we're going to see Skirk a bit earlier than later. Like, definitely, I would probably say, especially if you're going to, you know, hold up on keeping like your whole ass Primogems and stuff, I would say it's okay if you want to go for anybody now. I would say it's probably okay now to go for somebody. But at the very same time, be wary on during this Ian San patch. That's probably going to come up. And definitely just see what the hell happens. Because, yeah, I feel like we're going to see Skirk a little bit more quicker than I think people realize. And I feel like it's going to sneak up on them, right? So definitely there is that. But overall, when it comes to Natlan as a whole, at least of the Archon quest, this easily became my second favorite quest in the entire game. Like, I'm not necessarily gonna lie, yes, there was a bit of iffiness in the damn story as well, because genuinely, for me at least, the main reason why I was iffy was because I was confused on how the resurrection stuff work and how this certain rules of the Natlan world, land basically kind of works and stuff like that. And that's what was confusing to me. But at the very same time, not necessarily like everything else was that bad. Actually, it felt like the stakes were a lot higher because, again, it was the Abyss being on BS. And so, that's kind of how it was. But at the very same time, it wasn't necessarily like an overall bad chapter. I feel like a lot of people also kind of went into this with the expectation of constant death and constant war and things of the sort like that. And that's valid. But at the very same time, that's not all what Natlan is, nor should it be. Should it be handled maybe a little bit differently? Maybe, but at the very same time, I'm not pissed at the way it's handled or anything like that. At the best, it's like an 8 out of 10 to me personally. And that's not really including like the lore drops, because if we include like the lore drops, then that will be much higher. But for me personally, I would definitely say it's like an 8 out of 10, at least when it comes down to it, because, it wasn't really all that bad. It was pretty damn good, especially with how it ended, right? You could probably have a bad story sometimes, but if the ending is pretty good, it could save it. And honestly, I feel like the Captain and Renova kind of did that for me. So that's just kind of how it is on that front. Also, I do want to bear note that yes, there is obviously lacking in English voice actors if you're playing it in English, which does suck mainly for the Traveler, because of all the characters that should have voice lines, the Traveler should have. But most of the cast was pretty much there, besides like Kenichi and Ian-san, but that's just about it. But still, that's kind of the one downside, but it's not really on the, again, VA's fault or really Hoyo at all. It's pretty much on the damn agency that keep BSing around when it comes to it, and whatever that works. Basically, whatever contract is in the way of that, that's definitely whose fault it is. But I don't think that take away hard from the whole, I guess, like, quest of everything. So, it is what it is. But that being said, though, that's essentially my take on the whole Natlan story quest. I'm very eager and excited to see what the hell happens in the future patches. Definitely super excited to see what happens when it comes down to anything Shenanigans related at this point, because we could get that at any point in time after this probably next patch or whatever, or maybe even during the next patch, who really knows. But when it comes down to it though, it is very much going to be interesting from this point forward, right? Let's just keep it very much a stack. Anything from this point forward when it comes to Genshin could be absolutely wild, could be unpredictable, could be definitely a way of interest of where they're going to take stuff, because now we basically got done with most of the game and most of the journey. So now it's like a very serious country up next, and then the ultimate conclusion of the game, or at least of this chapter, right? So there is definitely that. So hopefully it'll be exciting, and hopefully we'll get to see how crazy shit can get. But that's essentially my take on the whole Natlan story quest and just Natlan in general. What you know about it, what you thought about it, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you do necessarily have, some type of liking of this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the like button as well. Also, go ahead and just follow me on the socials and donate to the channel if you like to. And until then, it's been Voyage, sign off. Have a say.